This is Darnell, and he's got a huge problem. 3 weeks ago, Darnell was working the overnight shift at a warehouse, making about $19 an hour, same as everyone else clocking in with him. Today, Darnell has $73 million sitting in his bank account, and somehow that's the problem. See, Darnell just won the Powerball, biggest jackpot in his state's history. Cameras, confetti, the big oversized check, the whole circus. His face was on every news channel in the country. Everyone's happy for him. Everyone's telling him his life is set forever. And Darnell believed it too. Right up until his accountant sat him down and explained what actually happens next. Because here's the thing nobody puts on the giant check. Roughly 70% of lottery winners are broke again within 5 to 7 years. Multiple past jackpot winners have gone on record filing for bankruptcy within a decade of their win. So the real question isn't how did Darnell win? It's how does someone go from $73 million to nothing? And once you see the mechanics, you'll understand why this happens to almost everyone who wins big. This is the economics of winning the lottery explained. Let's start with the number everyone gets wrong immediately. $73 million isn't actually $73 million. That's the, if you took 30 years of payments number, the advertised jackpot. But almost every winner, Darnell included, takes the lump sum instead because waiting 3 decades for a check when you could have real money right now feels insane. Except the lump sum option instantly chops the prize by about 40 to 50%. So Darnell's $73 million becomes closer to $38 million before a single dollar hits his account. And it's worth stressing this because almost nobody talks about it on television. The giant check they hand you at the press conference is basically a prop. It's a marketing number. The real number is the one that shows up in your account weeks later, quietly, with no cameras around. Now here's what happens next, and this is where it gets ugly. Imagine you find a vending machine that spits out gold coins. Amazing, right? Except this particular machine has a toll collector standing next to it, and the toll collector takes almost half of every coin before you can touch it. That toll collector is the federal government. Lottery winnings get hit with a mandatory 24% withholding right off the top, but that's just the withholding, not the actual bill. Because jackpot winnings push you into the highest tax bracket instantly, the real federal tax owed lands closer to 37%. And depending which state you live in, your state government wants its own slice too, sometimes another 5 to 10%. Add it up, and Darnell's $38 million lump sum just became something closer to $22 to $24 million after taxes. From $73 million on the giant check to roughly $23 million in his actual account. Nobody explained that part on television, and that's before Darnell has spent a single dollar on anything at all. But okay, $23 million is still an absurd, life-changing amount of money. This should still work out fine, right? Well, hold on, because this is where the real damage starts, and it has almost nothing to do with taxes anymore. The moment Darnell's win goes public, and in most states the law forces it to go public, his phone becomes a war zone. Every distant cousin he hasn't spoken to since 2014 resurfaces. Childhood friends he ghosted a decade ago suddenly want to catch up. His warehouse coworkers start hinting about loans. Strangers find his address. This isn't paranoia. This is documented. Researchers actually have a name for it, the windfall effect. And it describes the exact psychological and financial pressure that hits sudden wealth winners specifically. Unlike someone who builds wealth slowly, a lottery winner has zero financial infrastructure. No advisor relationship built over years, no experience saying no to family, no practice managing a portfolio bigger than their old annual salary. Just someone with a warehouse job yesterday and $23 million today, getting hit from every direction at once, with absolutely no training on how to handle any of it. And here's the part that sounds almost too on the nose to be true. Winners who take that lump sum, the exact choice almost everyone makes, are statistically more likely to go bankrupt than winners who took the annuity. Because the annuity forces discipline. You physically cannot blow through money you don't have access to yet. The lump sum hands someone with no wealth management experience an enormous, completely liquid pile of cash all at once, with a target painted on their back. It's the financial equivalent of handing a teenager the keys to a Ferrari before they've ever driven a car. Technically legal, rarely goes well. And unlike a car, there's no instructor in the passenger seat, no learner's permit, period, no one forcing a slower on ramp before the highway. So let's follow Darnell's money and watch the leaks happen in real time. First stop, the house. Nobody blows their fortune on one big dumb purchase. That's the myth. What actually happens is smaller and sneakier. Darnell buys a nicer house than he needs, sure, but the real cost isn't the house, it's what comes with it. Property taxes on a mansion, utilities on a mansion, landscaping, security, insurance, and maintenance on a mansion. A single reasonable upgrade in lifestyle quietly creates a permanent new monthly expense that didn't exist before forever, whether the jackpot money is still there or not. Multiply that by the cars, the boat nobody asked for, and the vacation home for the in-laws he's now somehow obligated to buy something for. And Darnell has built an entire ecosystem of ongoing costs before he's spent a single dollar on anything actually fun. Then there's the I'll just help everyone out phase. And this next part is the one financial advisors say destroys more winners than anything else. Family and friends asking for money, not asking once, asking constantly. And here's why Darnell can't just say no. Turning down a family member who watched you win $73 million on national television creates real, lasting relational damage. So most winners cave. A loan here, a gift there, paying off a sibling's house, funding a friend's failed food truck idea, co-signing a nephew's business loan because family doesn't say no to family. Each individual ask feels small compared to $23 million, but they never stop and they compound. Some winners report giving away or lending out millions this way within the first 2 years alone, often to people who never pay back a single dollar of it, and who quietly disappear the moment the money runs out. Then there are the predators, because the predators always show up. Financial scammers specifically target lottery winners. It's basically its own documented cottage industry. Unlicensed advisors pitching guaranteed returns that don't exist anywhere in the real financial world. Business partners pitching once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that conveniently need funding immediately before Darnell has time to think it through or ask a single question. Even legitimate-looking investment products get pitched harder and priced worse, specifically because the seller knows Darnell has no reference point for what a fair deal even looks like. Darnell, with zero investing background, suddenly has to evaluate pitches that actual finance professionals spend years learning to smell out. He gets it wrong. Winners almost always get it wrong at least once, and one bad seven-figure bet can undo years of careful spending in a single afternoon. And it's not just strangers running the scams either, which is the part that stings the most. Financial advisors who study sudden wealth cases report that some of the worst losses come from people winners already trust. A brother-in-law with a sure-thing real estate deal. An old friend who suddenly discovers he's an expert in cryptocurrency the week after the jackpot hits the news. The pitch always sounds different, but the mechanics are identical every time. Urgency, exclusivity, and a story specifically engineered so that saying no feels like betraying someone close to you. Multiply this by dozens of opportunities over a few years, and even a handful of 6 or 7 figure mistakes can carve a serious chunk out of $23 million. There's also a quieter cost that almost never makes the headlines, and it might be the cruelest one. Sudden wealth doesn't just attract new people, it drives away the old ones. Longtime friends start acting strange around Darnell. Some pull back entirely because they're afraid of looking like they want something. Others get resentful, watching him buy things they'll never afford. Coworkers who used to grab lunch with him now treat him differently, half admiration, half suspicion. Researchers studying windfall winners describe this exact pattern. Winners often report feeling more isolated after the money than before it, surrounded by more people than ever, but trusting almost none of them. So, on top of the financial bleeding, there's an emotional one too, and it's rarely the version of the story anyone tells at the press conference with the giant check. Here's a second case because Darnell isn't unique, and that's exactly the point. Take Priscilla, a different state, a different jackpot, roughly $31 million after taxes. Priscilla did almost everything the financial advisors say to do. She hired a lawyer, she hired an accountant, she even took the annuity instead of the lump sum, the supposedly safer option. And she still ended up in financial trouble within 8 years, not because she was reckless, but because the annuity payments themselves became public knowledge and the same windfall effect hit her family and community anyway, year after year, drip after drip, instead of all at once. The lesson here isn't that the annuity is useless, it's that no single structural fix solves the actual root problem, which is that sudden publicly known wealth invites pressure that never really stops, regardless of how carefully the money is doled out. Priscilla later told a local reporter that the hardest part wasn't any one bad decision, it was that every single year, right on schedule, her annuity payment would post publicly. And every single year, the requests would start flooding back in all over again, like clockwork, as if the previous 11 months of saying no had simply never happened. The pressure never had a chance to fade because the reminder never stopped arriving. Now, stack all of that together. Taxes cutting the prize by more than half before Darnell even sees it, a lump sum with zero built-in discipline, a mansion generating permanent new expenses, a family and friend network treating him as an open bank account, and scammers circling the second his name hit the news. None of these individually would bankrupt anyone. It's all of them happening simultaneously to someone with no framework for handling any of it that turned $73 million into zero within a few years. And this is the exact documented pattern behind why so many past jackpot winners now have public bankruptcy filings with their names attached to them, whether they took the lump sum like Darnell or the annuity like Priscilla. Here's the twist, though. The lottery isn't secretly evil. The odds are famously terrible, sure, everyone knows that going in. But the actual mechanism that ruins winners isn't the game itself. It's that receiving an enormous amount of money instantly, with no gradual buildup and no built-in guardrails, is one of the most psychologically dangerous financial events a person can experience. Compare that to how people actually build wealth, slowly, over decades, learning to say no, learning to spot bad deals, learning what a real financial advisor sounds like versus a con artist in a nice suit. Slow wealth forces you to build the skills to handle it. Sudden wealth just hands you the outcome without the education and expects you to figure it out live, in public. While everyone you've ever met is suddenly reaching for your money at the exact same time. So what actually works? The advisors who study this closely all say roughly the same handful of things. Take the annuity, not the lump sum, because the slow drip protects you from yourself even when your own judgment can't, even though Priscilla's story shows it isn't a complete fix on its own. Get a financial advisor and an attorney before you claim the prize, not after. So predators and family requests hit a wall instead of hitting you directly. Set up a trust to claim the winnings through, where the state allows it, so your actual name never touches the public paperwork. And move, or at least claim anonymously wherever possible, because anonymity is consistently the single biggest predictor of winners who actually keep their money long term. One more thing the advisors keep repeating, and it sounds almost too simple to matter. Do nothing for the first 6 months. No house, no car, no helping out, no investing. Nothing but paying off any existing debt and parking the rest somewhere boring and safe. The winners who wait, who let the initial frenzy of phone calls and press attention die down before making a single major decision, consistently end up in a far better position than the ones who tried to solve their entire life and everyone else's in the first 60 days. The winners who quietly disappear from headlines are, more often than not, the ones still holding their money a decade later. Darnell didn't know any of this 3 weeks ago. He just knew he'd won. But now he understands why the giant check on television and the actual number in his bank account are two completely different stories, and why so many people before him held that same giant check, smiled for the same cameras, and still ended up broke within a few short years. So the next time you see someone holding an oversized lottery check, grinning for the cameras, remember that the number printed on that cardboard prop is the least accurate figure in the entire story. Inflated for the press release and stripped down by taxes, family, and bad advice long before it ever becomes real, spendable money, and you'll know exactly what's actually happening behind the scenes long before anyone tells you. If you like stories like this, breaking down the real numbers behind the things nobody explains, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.